Coming up.
I think the thing that really troubles me is just the deterioration of the relationship between journalists and everybody else, and the lack of trust there, the fact that people aren't looking to us as journalists to help inform them in a lot of cases. I mean, that's really, really troubling. We have to earn that trust. And, I think there are valid reasons we've lost some of it, and bad actors have caused us to lose it in other instances.
This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. A couple of years ago, I went through one of the toughest health episodes of my life. I found myself in a really, really dark place, and honestly, it felt like the world was caving in all around me. I didn't know where to turn or what to do. I knew I needed something, but it just seemed like nothing was working. And therapy didn't work for me in the past. But then, with the encouragement of my wife, I decided to give today's sponsor BetterHelp a try, even though I was a little skeptical at first. And let me say, it was so different. I connected with a therapist, and simply talking with her helped me lower my anxiety in ways I didn't expect. Sometimes it's just about having someone outside of your family to listen, and BetterHelp made that so easy. What I love most about BetterHelp is the flexibility. You don't have to commit to months of sessions if that's not what you need. Sometimes a few sessions are all it takes to get some relief, to take the edge off, and start feeling a little better. Plus, they have a wide selection of therapists. You can find someone you really click with, and if you don't, you can switch therapists anytime and no extra cost. If you're like me, someone who gets stuck in their head a lot, BetterHelp might be the answer. And right now, if you visit betterhelp.com/sold-separately or use the link in this video's description, you can get 10% off your first month. So give it a try. Remember, you can't take care of anyone else in your life until you take care of yourself.
Auto sequence start in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And now, on with the show.
My name is Brian Reed. Happiness is pretending to go on a hunt for pirate's treasure with my 4-year-old daughter.
Okay, Mr. Brian Reed, hello. Thanks so much for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. How are you doing today?
How am I doing today? I have to actually really think about that because it's been a very slammed one. I'm good. I'm good.
If you're thinking about it, it is a slam day for sure.
Yeah,
if that happens.
Yeah, mostly good things. Hard things, but good things. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's better than the alternative, right? Not having anything going on.
Yeah,
for sure.
So.
I'm really excited to have you on and talk to you. I'm a huge fan of your work. I have listened to STown I don't know how many times, and it just keeps getting better and better every time I listen to it.
Really?
What an amazing story.
Each time. That's crazy.
Yeah. You've heard little things in it every time. It's like you hear different things or things you didn't pick up on, the last time you listened to it. But I don't know, the production's so great, the storytelling. I mean, what an amazing story.
What have you picked up? Like, do you have something that comes to mind?
Well, I think
that you didn't know that kind of struck you anew on a later listen.
I think for me, it's just John's personality and his character. I think he's such a tragically I don't know. You care for him so much. You want him to be okay, and you want him to all to work out in the podcast. But I feel like every time I listen, it's just the conversations that you guys have. I always kind of wonder what it was like for you when you first went down and met him. Was it different for you when you finally met him face to face? I know he had talked to you several times before you went.
It was definitely, unique to meet him. Meeting him, he's one of those people who, within 60 seconds of being around him, you just feel like I've known this guy forever. Like there's no formalities. There's no kind of barrier. You just, especially in his house and on his land. Yeah. You just got sucked into his world really quickly. And it was just kind of like, oh, we've known each other for a long time, which at that point we kind of had, but we hadn't met, so.
Right. How many years before you went down had you been talking?
Probably like a year and a half.
Okay. And that's how it all got started, right? Yeah. He reached out to you about a murder he wanted you to look
to the
into.
Staff of the radio show I worked for. Yeah. And then I was the one who was like, oh, who's this guy?
Right. And as a journalist, I mean, it had to be such an incredible experience. I mean, kind of getting down there, meeting everybody in his world. And it seems like the next person, every person you introduced or talked to it kept getting better and better. Just the story kind of got deeper and deeper.
It's a special place. Where are you from?
Knoxville, Tennessee. So not too far from Alabama. Yeah.
Where are you? Are you there now, or where am I talking to you from?
Yeah, I'm in Knoxville now. Yeah, okay. We're kind of right at the foothills of the Smoky Mountains, kind of in Appalachia. So it's nice. Kind of know that world that you described. You know, there are places.
Bibb County like actually. People, it's an interesting county because I did a lot of research into this, and so did my researcher. But like because of the way the tectonic plates actually slammed together back, in the early days of the Earth, it kind of goes through a very important geological change right in the center of the county. So the north part of the county where John was from, a lot of people kind of assume it's the Plantation South, but it's not. It's actually closer to kind of similar, I think, to probably where you are. It's very Appalachian. A lot of coal mining and stuff, not really farming and plantations in that part of the county. But then as you drive south, you see the landscape change. And by the time you're in the southern half of the county, it is kind of Plantation South. You're in the Black Belt. You're heading towards Selma. And the county really has two distinct parts in that way. And he was from the Appalachian part, and it affects the dialect and just the history of the whole place.
Yeah,
a lot of Italian immigrants there working in the coal mines. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, that the coal mine industry is definitely something that really, it still keeps families together today. I mean, that still goes on in Tennessee and Kentucky.
It's not active there in Bibb County. This was a while ago. There's no coal mining there that I'm aware of, but yeah.
Have you been back? Do you think the maze is filled in by now?
I haven't been back to John's property. I've been back to Alabama quite a bit. In the last couple of years, I've probably been, 4 or 5 times.
Okay.
I've not been to his property. It's owned by kind of an unfriendly family there, and to me at least. And but what I've heard is that it's not been upkept, so the maze is overgrown. Sadly,
that's a shame. Yeah. So nobody in his family owns it. It's a whole nother family that's taken over.
Right.
Wow. Do you keep in touch with anybody in his world from down there? I mean, you go down and do you still?
I do. Yeah. I mean, I keep in touch with. I've gone. It's been 8 years since the podcast came out, and 10 years or more since I started meeting people there. So I've definitely gone through phases of being kind of closer to some people, and then drifting out of touch and being closer with other people. But most recently, like I'm in most regular touch with a woman named Cheryl Dodson, who had been a really good friend of John's. They'd kind of had a falling out in the last years of his life, but she's very active in the community there. Her husband's the mayor of Woodstock and Johnstown. She calls herself the first lady. And so she's kind of like my fixer when I go down there and takes me around and introduces me. But she has kind of, since the podcast, devoted her life to, she changed her life after the podcast came out. She had been working at a car dealership. Like I said, her husband was the mayor. After the podcast came out, she left her job and became a full-time suicide prevention advocate, and has really worked to train people in suicide prevention all throughout Alabama in recent years, and has made kind of Woodstock, this very tiny town, a bit of a like destination for people who are looking for resources on suicide prevention, and the public library. And they have a fundraiser each year, this music festival, the Woodstock Music Festival, that she's part of. And it's just really kind of used the podcast and John's life to make something nice. So
that's great that it's something nice and good has come out of that. That's for sure. I mean, it's such a tragic story for what happened to him, but now you're working on a new show, and I've gotten to listen to the first episode, the Trojan Horse Affair. It's really compelling. I encourage anybody to listen to that and find it. It's great. A great piece of storytelling also. I wondered about that one. Was it a long production process on the ground? It seems like it when you listen. It seems like this epic.
The Trojan Horse Affair or my current show, Question Everything?
Well, the Trojan Horse Affair.
Okay.
That one, and
yeah, that took forever. Yeah. It was very long. It took, I don't even know, like years.
Yeah. Wow.
That came out in 2022, and it took a bunch of years before that. Yeah.
Wow. For those who don't know, it started with a letter, right? No one knew who wrote it, where it came from, and then you're going to try to figure out that mystery.
Yes, that's right. Yep.
And your partner in that is great also. He's great.
Yeah, Hamza Syed. He's a newbie, rookie journalist at the time.
Yeah.
He's come back and been on my current show, Question Everything, a couple times, which I encourage people to check out. He's fun to talk to. We're still friends.
That's awesome. You meet some really good, interesting people and friends for life in this business for sure. It's interesting who you meet and connect with when you go out to do these stories out in the field. What is it you love about these kind of stories, the storytelling? Is it the mystery of trying to figure something out? What's your favorite part?
I definitely like that. I like, if you're really, the way I do the work, at least, like I'm involved in almost every part of the process from soup to nuts. And I like that variety. I find that I get to use all these different parts of my brain in the course of making a story. So there's like brainstorming and workshopping ideas, which is fun, with my team. And that's very collaborative and hard. Like we're hard on ideas and we, really test them, and most ideas don't work. And we let each other know that. And so I like that part. I like reporting a lot, like being out in the world and, meeting interesting people, trying to gain their trust, trying to get them to tell you things that maybe they shouldn't, or give you documents that maybe they shouldn't. Like that's fun. It's almost like being a spy or something, Yeah, and,
for sure.
But in the public interest. And then, trying to find things out, being the first to know something. And then, structuring that into a story that is compelling for people to hear, that they want to pay attention to, is just really engaging as well and really hard. And I really like that. And then, writing's fun too, but honestly, like all the other stuff is more fun.
Yeah, the writing has to be done. And I think the hardest part is you get all this information, you come home and you get a box of stuff and you got to put that all together in episodes and make it make sense and make it interesting.
Well, it's important to be thinking about it kind of critically at every point.
Exactly.
And we also kill a lot of stories that we start. So it's a lot of assessing. Is this good enough? Is this good enough?
Wow. Well, I know you go back to This American Life. Have you always had the desire, even growing up, to tell stories and get involved in media? Did you tell stories as a kid?
I guess I did. Now that you asked, I remember being in a storytelling festival in 4th grade where we told we had to memorize a folk tale. And I think the one I did was called How El Bizarro Fooled the Devil. It was like a Spanish language folktale. I forget from where exactly initially. And I memorized it. I still have the book. It's actually on my kid's shelf. This giant book of folktales from around the world. And I picked that out of there in 4th grade. And then I remember it was at Wesleyan University. I told the story live. So I don't know. That is definitely actually a formative memory.
Yeah.
That I haven't thought about in a while. And then in high school, I was into theater. I was like a theater kid. So I really enjoyed that. And I was a theater major in college. And I found that I was a theater and history double major in college. And I found that combination was really useful when I started working at This American Life, because it was like kind of the research, fact checking, historical narrative of history. But we were constantly talking about like drama, conflict, scenes, characters. Bringing people on stage is a phrase we would use when we would introduce someone in a story, So I found that I use my theater degree a lot.
That's awesome. Mixed with the history, that's a great combination to get into investigative journalism. That's for sure. And now in your show, we were just discussing about Question Everything and talking about journalism and where it kind of fits in the world today. Do you think we're in trouble with journalism today? Does it worry you at all, losing true journalism?
I think we're in trouble. Full stop. Yes, I think that I wish that journalism were doing a better job to address that trouble, because that's what it should be doing,
Yeah.
I think the thing that really troubles me is just the deterioration of the relationship between journalists and everybody else. And the lack of trust there, the fact that people aren't looking to us as journalists to help inform them in a lot of cases. That's really, really troubling. We have to earn that trust. And, I think there are valid reasons we've lost some of it, and bad actors have caused us to lose it in other instances. And actually really targeted campaigns. But yeah, that really troubles me because I think of my job as being aligned with the public. I think of myself as part of a civilian press corps. I heard someone put it recently, like journalists are like a defense and an intelligence agency for the public.
Yeah.
And that's really how I think of myself. But what good is that if the public doesn't think of me that way?
Right. Exactly. I think it's so hard. I don't know if social media has helped or hurt, but I think now that on social, you don't know really what you're looking at, if you can trust it, who's saying what. It seems the world of journalism seems very crowded now, and it's very noisy.
Well, the world of content is very crowded. I mean, I feel frazzled, by the stuff out there. And I'm not like some purist. Like, I think I'd be fine with, I get some news on social media. I follow influencers. I get value from that stuff. I have my parasocial relationships. I learn things about the world and topics and industries that I wouldn't otherwise. I feel like there's a lot of value to that, and not needing the gatekeepers in every instance, or the kind of like staid old, frameworks and ways of doing things. I'm not like some New Yorker only kind of person.
Right.
But I do also know it's the Wild West, and, even things we've dug into on this show, Question Everything, as I've dug into them, it's like, oh man, nobody's using the same standards. Nobody agrees on what the rules are, or even just kind of best practices about how to verify if something's true, what context you should include, whether you should reach out to somebody you're saying something about and get them to, give a comment or not, stuff that I think influencers could do and still largely do what they're doing,
Yeah.
that would just shore it all up a bit. So
I think back when I was in a newsroom working at the ABC affiliate, I mean, we had to have 3 sources. We could not go on the air with any story unless we had, 3 sources to verify. I feel like now some people, we go so quickly, and then there's a lot of retracting, or maybe not even retracting at all.
Or
it's
not
just
correcting. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, I think influencers could correct things when they get them wrong. Like, I don't know. I just think there's a bunch of stuff that are good practice that would take some more resources. I'm not saying it's nothing, but that I think if you did it, could fit in with what a lot of influencers and people online are doing,
Yeah.
And it wouldn't, and they could still deliver it. Like, what's important is the aesthetic and the style and the person and the relationship people have with them. That's all super powerful, and I wouldn't want to lose any of that. Like, I think stories should be powerful and should connect to people and should entertain people. Like, we need to earn people's interest as well. And if people are turning into those formats, that's cool, And it's like, how can we just incentivize the ecosystem to make more trustworthy content, more solid, reliable content?
Yeah, I think if you show your vulnerability and you come out and you're honest and you say, "Hey, I messed this up. This is not right." It kind of proves and lets people trust you more. I mean, that's, like you said, influencers could do that too. In the same way that news agencies do. When we were kids growing up, I mean, the news anchors of the day, we didn't know what affiliation they had and politically, or it was just, they were telling us the news. I remember that we put so much, I guess, trust in them, that they were telling you the news, and that was accurate. That's the way it was. And now it's kind of hard, I think, maybe harder for younger generations. I don't know if it's social when to try to get true information and authentic. Like you said, you can pick out things that you can learn from. It's great in that way, but true news or truth, it seems like sometimes it's harder to find that little nugget more and more now.
And then also there's just a lot fewer journalists and outlets out there, you're much less likely to have a robust local paper to even just be kind of exposed to what a news story is, or what, makes kind of reliable reporting. Like, I think one of the biggest things that's happened that I encounter a lot, I think it's happened to journalists and also to just regular people, is we've all been trained and conditioned to judge the information we're getting in on a spectrum of bias as the most important way to judge it, when I think it might be one of the least important ways to judge information. And actually what's important is this reporting? Is this sourced? Is this commentary? Is this opinion? Like, that's the thing that matters. Like, something can be reported and told by someone who has a point of view and still be more trustworthy than something that's just like someone spouting off,
Yeah. Yeah, there's a difference there.
Yeah.
Are you a commentator? Are you giving your opinion, or is this fact, and you're letting somebody know the truth
And how you know it,
and how you know it? Yeah, where did you get
did
that
you read
information?
this in the primary document? Did you hear it from two people who work at town hall? Like, what?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And you can do that in a way where you don't give up sources, but you're able to say someone from an agency, or I got this from, and keep their identity close. Do you think how do we get back to that? Like the real journal, is it being independent reporting, podcasts? Is it just finding a way, an outlet to kind of shine through the noise?
I don't know. That's why I have this show, Question Everything. Tune in. We try to figure it out every week. We try to really confront the major challenges journalism's facing and be introspective about where we've had shortcomings for sure and failures, but also, and also looking at people who are trying to innovate and, what are they doing right? What could they do better? And just like a mass kind of a way forward. I don't know. Like there's, we've learned a lot of kind of like independent things that I'm still piecing together. Like I see this as like a real time journey that I'm on, this show, Question Everything, where I'm trying to learn something every week.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's very fluid for sure, because it's going to change, I think.
Like this week, I don't know, when is this going to
air? This will probably be out next week.
Okay. So like our most recent show, we, once in a while I talk to some people over at a tech startup called Pira. And they have this AI technology they've built that sucks up like every social media post across all these social media platforms, like a lot of fringy ones you've never heard of, like, or that, kind of dark web ones like 4chan or Getter or Gab. And then it runs AI across them and can kind of tell you what the most prominent narratives that are emerging are. And these are narratives that are kind of early, like they're not in the news yet, a lot of them. And the company is built really to detect violent threats. So like corporations will pay to use this software to detect, risks and threats to their business or their executives that can be detected in like online chatter. But they can also run it for like political narratives that are emerging, kind of like the id of the internet. And so I interviewed the founder this week, and he's just like pointing me to different things he's seeing kind of through this lens where, he's concerned about things that I haven't thought about because he's got this different view on what's on people's minds and what they're saying, Wow. And I'm like, oh, is there a way to use this technology to think about stories and coverage in a different way? So like we just try to look at things that are interesting and that seem like they offer a new way of doing things that might be compelling to people.
Yeah.
It might tap into places that, we're not traditionally covering as robustly, like 4chan.
That's pretty scary that it's predicting what has not yet come down the pike. That's crazy. But AI is doing some amazing things, but it's also
it's not predicting. It's really just looking at what people are actually saying, and then us using its technology to really, and its AI to really assess like what's most prominent among like all the noise. So it's not like predicting something that's not happening. It's basically saying this is what is happening on all these platforms, which you're probably not paying attention to yet.
But here's the strongest one. That's kind of Do you, with young people, does it worry you at all with the young journalists that are coming out, what they're learning in college? Are they still teaching unbiased journalism, or is it more of a opinion-based type of,
I'm not like an expert on that. I've heard a couple different things. I did talk to a journalism student. I was at a journalism class the other day at NYU. I don't know what the rule is that they're learning. It was a lot of, a lot of the students were very frustrated though and disillusioned with their experience of journalism school. I will say, they felt like it wasn't what they were learning wasn't suited to the moment, essentially. But I did talk to another journalism student in Ohio a couple weeks ago, and he was saying what they're actually being taught. It's not about bias, but to be transparent about their point of view and kind of their background in their reporting, like I bring this to the reporting, and to like build transparency in, which I think makes sense, certainly for this era.
Yeah, I mean, it would help to kind of know where they're coming from, right? I mean, kind of where their thoughts lie. And wow, I think it's changing a lot. I think that, but at the core of it, I think we can look at it as it's a negative thing with social media and all the noise. But I guess really the bottom line is that just more information means that we have to do a little bit more homework and kind of track down what is true, what we believe, what's true, what we agree with. There's a lot of information out there coming at us at 100 miles an hour every day. So
yeah.
Wow. All right, my friend. Well, thank you so much for spending time with me. I know you're under deadline and you've got to take off, but real quick, where can people find you, your new show, all the other shows you've done? What's the best way to get?
Wherever you listen to your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Overcast, etc. Search for Question Everything with Brian Reed. We're out most Thursdays with new episodes, but listen to the old episodes too. There's a lot of stuff that's evergreen, and I hope you enjoy it. And then, you can find STown and the Trojan Horse Fair searching as well.
I think that's what I love most about your reporting is that you bring this natural curiosity to every story that you do and you tell, and it's you kind of like you're along for the ride. It's a really comfortable way of reporting and storytelling, and I love it. You're great.
I appreciate that. That's really kind. Oh, and sign up for our newsletter where I do some kind of I often put outtakes or little behind the scenes things. It's fun.
Oh, that's
kcrw.com/question everything. kcrw.com/question everything. And check out the show. Question Everything with Brian Reed. Thank you.
We'll come back soon. I'd love to have you come back and we have a little bit more time and
let me know if you're in New York. I'll do the same if I'm in Tennessee.
All right, man. Awesome.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you so much, Brian.
Happiness Sold Separately is created and hosted by Jason Hensley and is produced by Makash Films. Narration by Lauren Gobis. If you or someone you know is in crisis and needs immediate help, call the National Mental Health Hotline at 866-903-3787. We would be honored if you would rate, share, and subscribe.
Aye, that's a good one.